Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview with the Future Proof, your law firm group. I am super excited to have Joseph Tully here today. He is going to share a lot of experience, and I'm really excited to have you here, Joseph. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, Luke. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so why don't you start with just giving a little bit of some background information on who you are, maybe a little bit of kind of where you were, how kind of where you've gotten to where you are now, and just kind of what you guys are focusing on right now in your practice.
Sure. My name is Joseph Tully. I passed the California State Bar in 1999. And at that time, I was living in Fresno, California. And the job that I could get was at the public defender's office. And I had never thought that I would go into criminal law. I didn't respect the field. I didn't really even study it in law school. We took it because it was a required course. But I got a job as a public defender. I fell absolutely in love with the position. And in 2001, I moved back to my hometown in the Bay Area, Martinez, California, Contra Costa County. Started up my own law firm, Tully and Weiss. And that was May 1st, 2001. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary, a few weeks ago. So we specialize in criminal defense.
That's really cool. Well, yeah, congratulations on the anniversary. I'd love to know. I have a couple questions from that. So, you weren't thinking of getting into criminal law initially, but growing up, did you always think you wanted to be a lawyer, or, going into law school was just something somebody told you to do, or how did that work?
I don't know how that worked. I've hated school with a passion since third grade. I liked school up until about third grade. Then I just started hating it. I hated college. I was fortunate, and my parents, supported me going through UC Davis. So I got my 4-year degree. And I didn't appreciate it as much then as I do now, because if I didn't go and get my 4-year degree, I wouldn't have gone to law school. I wouldn't be where I am today. And I love what I do for a living. I love the impact that I can have on people. So, but how I went from hating school and high school and college to applying and getting through law school, I have no idea. I can't tell you.
Gotcha. It's interesting. Yeah, everybody's got a little bit of an interesting story. And I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but go a little bit deeper on why you love criminal defense so much, why you're so passionate about it.
So I studied a lot of Joseph Campbell books. He's the mythologist. He, I think, locked himself in a trailer in his 20s and 30s and read every myth that you can read in humanity. And he came up with these common motifs. And, a lot of the great religions of the world teach us to not focus on ourselves, to be of service to others, to live in compassion. And criminal defense gives us that opportunity. It gives us the opportunity to practice non-judgment. It gives us the opportunity to practice unconditional love and to stand by somebody who might be considered a pariah, and make sure that the system treats them honestly, and make sure that the system treats them fairly, and bring dignity to the system. Because if the system isn't fair, it doesn't have dignity. It doesn't have justification. It doesn't have legitimacy. But when the system is fair, then we can all know that we're living in a better society. And a lot of times there's people who are falsely accused, and that's very rewarding in itself. So criminal law is deeply and richly rewarding to practice in as a person. Financially, it's I think you put in the most hours, you suffer the most heartache, and you get paid the least. But I'm not focused on finances. I'm focused on life and humanity and making the world a better place.
Yeah, that's really inspiring, Joseph. And I think, what you kind of hit on there is that it's very important. A lot of people probably go into law school thinking they want to be a lawyer to make the big bucks, to make the big money. And yes, that can be, rewarding financially to some extent, but after a while, it probably will get old. People get burned out, things, happen. And really choosing a path that's more fulfilling for yourself, I think is really important for, everybody, whether you're a lawyer or not.
I agree with you. And yeah, in criminal defense, like I said, it's such a great um, reward. And it's also like jumping out of airplanes for a living. I mean, it's high octane, high adrenaline, high stakes, high pressure. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it's a great field to be in.
Oh, sure, definitely. And so I'd love to know, how things are going right now, to kind of, go from the past to the present. So how is everything going in your law firm right now with everything that's happened? What are some changes that you've had to make? What are some challenges you've had to face?
So recently, the biggest thing for us is that criminal defense, usually you charge in a flat rate system. You estimate a certain amount for a job, and it's almost like hiring Mick Jagger to sing at a birthday party. Like, how much is that worth? Well, you work it out. And you kind of get paid for the work, but you kind of get paid to bring a result too. Like a top level attorney can get a case dismissed maybe with a phone call or an email these days, and there's a value to that. But my law firm, we are hyper litigious, and we really believe in the fight. And we were putting in so many hours on every single case, and we shifted from the more common flat rate system to an hourly system, which I think it's more fair to us. It's fair to the client. We're very fair in terms of billing, but it's also more fair to us in that the hours that we're spending on cases, hypothetically, we're getting paid for it. So that was very hard, because when we initially switched over, we didn't have money coming in, because 90%, 95% of our time was still being spent on our old cases, and we weren't bringing in, new money. We weren't spending time billing. So I had to bridge that gap for a few months, and thankfully I had the savings. But we've made it through that area, and through that rough patch, and now we're billing, and it's a much better system for us. But because we spend so much time on our cases.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think making sure that you're really putting client success over maybe client acquisition
Yes,
is really important. Would you agree with that?
I would, yes. I want us to, it's a mindset, it's a mentality. And fortunately, I've been very, very, very blessed with my employees. I mean, people will compliment me all the time, and they'll say, how do you recruit? And I just let it happen naturally. But all of us, our mindset is on servicing the client. If somebody comes up and they say, let's just hypothetically have $100,000 to spend on this case. The mindset shouldn't be, well, let's spend $100,000. The mindset has to be focused on, how can we best help this client? And if you only end up charging that client $50 because there was a simple solution, then so what? You missed out on billing, but you created a happy client, and you created justice in the world. And that's where the focus needs to be.
Oh, for sure. No, and I'm glad to hear that that's what you're doing. That's really awesome. No, I'm curious. Obviously we've talked about, you just mentioned, kind of hiring, things just kind of happen. When it comes to, though, actually getting new clients, is it something, people are just, since you've been around for 20 years, people just get referred to you, they know your name, or do you guys do any kind of like outbound marketing or advertising?
Well, we're fortunate in that we don't have to, but how that happened was that basically I'm only now starting to acquire a life. So for 2 decades, I was 100% committed. All I did was work. And I was very fortunate. I have a lot of successes in jury trials. So for instance, I think in the greater Northern California area, well, put it like this. Outside of Contra Costa County, which is my home jurisdiction, I've done maybe like 75 trials, which is a lot for a private practitioner. I've heard the word guilty twice outside Contra Costa County, and I've done like over 75 jury trials. So I think in the greater Northern California area, I've taken cases to trial, and out of over 100 verdicts, that have gone to trial where a jury could vote on it. So that's not dismissals before or pleading or hung juries, but actual verdicts voted on by a jury. I've heard the word guilty one time out of over 100. So, and I've, absolutely dedicated myself to my craft and my clients. And then it's just word of mouth spreads, and everything is incremental. So if you're a sole practitioner or a private practitioner, you think, wow, I got this new thing, a big client, a media case, or something, and you think it's going to change your life. It doesn't, but it's a small increment, but it does work on an exponential basis.
Oh, sure. Definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And, I mean, those are obviously some of the most powerful ways to get new clients. If you're doing a good job for one person and, they're probably going to, recommend you to somebody else. I know one thing that I kind of talked to my interview yesterday, and I'd love to get your feedback on because you're so focused on client success. One thing that I know some younger lawyers are scared to ask for reviews, but I know, and I'm sure you probably know, that online reviews are very important. Is that something you just typically ask all of your clients afterwards? If you were happy with us, leave us a review, or how does that process kind of work?
So actually, I've had this product for the last 2 years. I think it's wonderful. It's called Connect, with KENECT, and it's a text application. And so, a client will ask for your cell phone, or can I text this to you? I have a video of the supposed victim threatening me. Can I text it to you? You don't want to give out your personal cell phone as a lawyer, because you'll get calls on nights and weekends and text messages, and you don't want to do that. So Connect allowed me to say yes, you can accept text messages and send it out. It's an application on that you can log into anywhere on the web. But then it also has a handy dandy ask for a review, and it asks for Google or Facebook. And I've been using that, and I'm not as on top of it as I should be. But we're refocused on it in the last couple of weeks, because it is important. So I use Connect. I send out the message through Connect to customers and clients, and it works well for me.
Oh, yeah. No, that's definitely, I mean, there's a lot of technology out there that people could potentially use. So I think sometimes people get like analysis paralysis, where there's all these different things. They don't know what to choose. I think it's important just to try something. If it doesn't work after a while, you can try something else. Or you can listen to our interviews and listen to what all the awesome attorneys are offering, and kind of giving some other feedback on. And that brings me to my next question is, are there any other technologies that are like critical to your business, and you would recommend some other attorney that's maybe struggling or looking for a new technology to check out?
Sure. So our trifecta, well, let's say quadrecta, is Connect, which works really well with Clio, which is a case management system. And then, I like the Microsoft suite. I've been using it since, early 90s. So, Outlook is great. And then Word and Excel and PowerPoint for presentations. And then QuickBooks Online. So QuickBooks Online works with Clio, and Clio works with Connect. So they work very well together. Cool. And then in terms of productivity, the Microsoft suite is what we use. It works really well. I'd highly recommend it. To work with Clio, you have to have the online version of QuickBooks, though, which isn't as functional as like the desktop version. Gotcha. But to get that talking back and forth, to go to the online version, I think is worth it.
Yeah, no, I there's a lot of, I mean, every single day, new technologies coming out, new automations. And I think that's some of the really powerful things that are starting to come out more and more are not only just, oh, this is one really cool tool over here, and one's really cool tool over here. It's the connection between them and the automations that can be put in place that I think can be really powerful for streamlining everything. I'm sure, people have, if they've been watching, they've probably noticed in the background that you got a book back there, Joseph. Why
Yes.
don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, this was published in 2018. It's called California State of Collusion. And it was a result of, let's say at that time, 17 years of just being very frustrated and angry at the system and the injustice and unfairness of it. And I really didn't hold back. I think we need to praise good officers, good law enforcement, good prosecutors, good judges, good politicians. However, I think it's pretty clear the environment is that the good ones are in the minority and their voice is being silenced. And there's a lot of unfairness in the criminal justice system, as we've seen. I mean, now we have a summer of violence, which is basically an annual thing right now, and it shouldn't be. We do have systemic problems in our justice system, and I've been screaming about that we need to face them for a long time. So I published the book. It went to #1 on Amazon, and I'm very proud of it. I tackle law enforcement in the chapter, all the problems with it, why it creates problems. And then I go into prosecutors, and then I go into judges, appellate court judges, politicians. I deal with racism in prisons, drug crimes, just the whole litany of systemic problems in our criminal justice system. And it's actually doing as well today better than it was in 2018, which I watched that in another interview. And I think it's a great thing when a product that you labored on, a labor of love, increases in value over time.
Yeah, no, definitely. So if people wanted to check out the book, is Amazon the best place to try and find it?
I think Amazon's the only place to find it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's on there, and I'm very proud of it. A lot of people thought I would get assassinated or something, because I really do not hold back. And then an equal amount of people thought that I would lose my career because I didn't hold back. I don't mince words. I'm not here to attack anyone. Again, I want to work with good law enforcement. We all need to get better. For me to expect law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges to be at their best behavior and to be operating at a high frequency, right? I need to be that way too. So it's a reminder to myself. I want to elevate, myself, my colleagues, my adversaries, my superiors. I want us all to get better. And I think as lawyers, we've kind of lost that. There used to be a recognition in society that doctors and lawyers were held in high esteem. And that's not so much the case anymore. And it's because we're not pushing ourselves as much as we used to, I think, to be better people. Why not, to have this higher position in a higher status in society? Let's be better people. Let's be on our best game.
Definitely. No, I think that's good. And I'm really glad that the book is still successful to this day. And I hope it continues to go. And that kind of, leads me into, I got two final questions for you, Joseph. The next one being, what does the future hold for your firm? It seems like like you said, you kind of crossed a rough patch. You're, starting to really see that new growth with the new billing model. Things are going good. So what does the future hold for you guys? Are you focusing on anything specific or?
Certainly. So I want Tully and Weiss to continue to grow as a brand. I want it so that I can't be everywhere, but my other attorneys that I'm training, my younger attorneys, they are amazing. And at my firm, we have a philosophy. When you train someone, train them to be better than you are. So all my younger attorneys, a few years from now, they're going to leave me in the dust. I mean, they're amazing now. They're, have just immense talent. And I want it to be that every client, if they, if we have a branch office in San Diego, we're now spreading, across the state. But I want the experience for a client to be the same if they go to our branch office in San Francisco. I want them to be treated the same and to have the same intensity in terms of their representation and in terms of results, for their cases. So hang on a sec.
Yeah, no problem.
So I want that to happen across the board. So basically a brand of a criminal defense law firm that's really, really serious in what they do and takes really good care of their clients. I want it to be all across the state of California and where clients have the same experience.
Gotcha. And, I hope you don't mind me asking another question, because that made me think of something, for somebody else that's maybe thinking of maybe they're only going from one location to two. I know that you kind of are at a bigger stage. Even if you have a brand name kind of built out in one particular area, how do you think, how do you recommend, or even what is your process going to be like when you're trying to expand to a new area? Because these people might not be as familiar with you because it's, a new location. So how do you address that problem? How do you kind of overcome that?
So what I'm doing is I'm working with a very tight knit group of people, and I'm very fortunate. I told you before earlier that for whatever reason, my employees, my younger attorneys, my administration staff, they're just amazing people. I am now working with my mentors. So the people who made me what I am, they've since retired from the Fresno County Public Defender's Office, and now they're working with me. So, and that's in my Fresno branch. I also have a colleague in the Los Angeles area. And I know that if they get hired on a case, we're all going to have the same approach to things. So I think it comes down to people and the personnel and their talent and their commitment to justice and to work. So I know that, so my plan, I guess, is to expand with the people that I'm working with. So, for instance, my mentors in Fresno, I'll have no question about how they're going to handle a case. We'll all work on it together, and I'll work with them and oversee it. But they don't need my help. That they're amazing litigious attorneys in their own right. So I'm going to acquire talent, like the best of the best people, and that's my vision for this law firm, is just to have the best litigators, hands down, that you could get privately, and they all work for one law firm.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome plan. I wish you guys the best of luck with that. That's, that's amazing. Maybe we can have another interview a couple months later down the line just to check in and see if you guys have conquered all of California yet. But what I do want to ask is some final words of wisdom, for anybody that's trying to future-proof their firm, or maybe they're just struggling. You've dropped a lot of valuable nuggets here. I really appreciate it, Joseph. So what's one more final thing you would say?
Treat your clients like human beings and take care of them, and don't make it about money. So let's say you just sort of move on. Let's say somebody stiffs you and burns you, even, it's happened to me. I mean, my receivables would make another person sick, but I have satisfied clients, and they refer me out. And so your firm will grow, but it'll grow little by little. It's very, very small increments, but it'll happen exponentially. And at some point, when you reach that height on the curve, the phone will ring, no matter if you advertise or not. It'll just start to ring because you've had so many satisfied clients. So I just take it day by day. And another thing is balance. The secret to life is balance, okay? But having said that, I've told you nothing. Knowing when to sleep, knowing when to work, knowing when to rest, knowing when to take personal time. It's balance, But how do you do that? And when to do that? And how often to do that? That's actually going to not only require balance on a daily basis, but the answer today will be different than it is tomorrow. And it'll be different tomorrow than it is a year from now. So the secret to life is balance, but that changes on a second by second basis. So really try to balance things. Try to balance mind, body, spirit. We have that in our employee manual at my firm. You know, do something for your mind. You know, if you're thinking, you know, what you're doing in your life, you're making plans. What are you doing for your mind? What are you doing for your body? What are you doing for your spirit? Balance it and just apply that to your practice and apply it to your representation of clients.
Gotcha. No, I think that's super key. Balance, very important. And, you know, like not only does it change day by day for each individual, but your definition of balance might be a little bit different than mine, or might be different from somebody else's. So you have to kind of look introspectively and see, you know, what would be the best way to kind of balance things out for yourself. So that makes a lot of sense. So thank you, Joseph, so much for being here. If anybody wants to learn more about you, what would be the best way to get in contact with you or your firm?
I think, you know, just looking on the internet or giving a phone call to one of our branch offices is fine. We have an 844 number. Internet search, just dialing our branch offices. We have good administration, and they'll pick up the phone. We return phone calls, we return emails. So we're very responsive to any inquiries.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again, Joseph, and thank you everybody for watching. And we will see you all in the next interview. Have a great day.